Welcome to Corner to Corner, Kaden versus Complex. I'm Kaden.
It's your boy Complex. You know what it is. Welcome back.
Look, you know what we're talking about. Complex put his hard-earned money on Devin, and I put mine on Norman. And now what we're asking is, did Haney's victory over Brian Norman Jr. silence his doubters or raise more questions? Before we dive into that, we're going to listen to what Devin Haney had to say immediately after his victory.
I proved all the doubters and the non-believers wrong.
And now you're a three-weight champion. Do you feel like you should be in the discussion of best pound for pound?
Of course, I was on the pound for pound list before, then I was cheated, and now I came back to get, what I lost.
So that's what Devin Haney had to say. Now we're going to listen to what some of his critics had to say, mainly Eddie Hearn. So let's listen to what Eddie Hearn had to say. And this is his take on Devin Haney's performance.
They're not happy with my comments, but she's not good to watch.
Thinking media, Eddie Hearn, it's 7 a.m. I think it is. Cold, tired. Devin Haney, talking about Devin Haney, how impressed were you with his performance?
I mean, look, you got to give him the credit because he's become a 3-division world champion, but it's just not good to watch. He doesn't want to engage. He doesn't, which is right. But they're not happy with my comments because I just said the truth. Like, he doesn't look. He's his eyes wide open the whole fight. And he was always been a smart technical fighter, but look, he beat an undefeated fighter and he became world champion. So credit to him.
Conor Benn, how does Conor Benn beat someone like him who, like you said, does not want to get hit?
Look, he's not easy to beat because he doesn't want to fight. He doesn't want to, and that's smart. I'm not saying, but it's just not, and it's not like, oh, you wouldn't put your guys in with him because you can't beat him. He's difficult to beat because he doesn't want to engage. He's holding, he's grabbing, he's not doing anything. I mean, after he dropped Brian Norman really heavily, all he had to do was step on him. He would have stopped him. It would have been a great performance. But I'm just saying, people are watching that.
There's obviously been talks with Conor tonight and Turkey. Have they suggested anyone else other than Devin?
We're in a winner of Ryan Garcia against.
So you heard Eddie Hearn's criticisms of Devin Haney's performance against Brian Norman Jr. We're going to listen to what Bill Haney had to say in response to this because Trill Bill was going to have something to say. Let's listen to what Bill Haney had to say in response.
Bill.
Hey, Eddie, we're in here in the locker room. Listen. On 3. 1, 2, 3. Fuck you, Eddie.
Fuck you, Eddie. All right, Complex. What's your reaction?
Good morning, everybody. You know what's funny? I'm in Las Vegas right now, right? And it's 3 a.m. Las Vegas time. I don't know if you guys can see that or whatever, right? I'm here to watch the Formula One race. I saw it last night. Shout out to Max Verstappen for coming through with the victory. I had to be here. It is 3 a.m. and we normally record at 6 a.m. on the East Coast time. And I had to be here so I can step on all the haters talking about how Devin Haney was going to lose, especially my boy Kaden, who I love so much. But I had to be here so that my brother could get this work. Listen, this is one of the reasons why I brought up the whole betting angle, right? Because it was like, we need to put our money where our mouth is, right? And right now, money's gone out of Kaden's mouth. So that's why he's sitting there eating humble pie instead. But listen, let's talk about
that's not true.
let's talk about the fight. Because guess what? I couldn't even watch the fight because I was watching the race. So what I did is I went to my boy Kaden's Twitter page. Shout out to @Kaden the Geek on Twitter or X. And I was able to read his contemporaneous notes. You know how my brother loves contemporaneous notes. If there's one thing I know is I can go to his page and he's going to be scoring the fight. So I went to his page and lo and behold, Devin Haney's up. So I was not even worried. I didn't even need to watch the fight. I could just go to his page and look at it real time. Isn't God great? Look at that. So I was able to know that my bet was secure without even having to watch the fight. And guess what? It doesn't matter. I could have picked this fight with my eyes closed. I could have picked this fight from 10 weeks ago, from 20 weeks ago, from 10 years ago. I could have picked this fight from, you just told me whatever, it was going to be Devin Haney by decision. And you guys, y'all played yourselves. And I'll tell you why. You guys let a drug cheat make you switch up on what you stand on. Y'all let Ryan Garcia's performance cloud your whole judgment after that. Oh, well, he's damaged goods, whatever. When that boy popped for Osterine, knowing dang well he's not supposed to have no Osterine in his system, not even a bazillionth, I don't care what of a gram of Osterine. Shouldn't have any of it in his system. And all of a sudden now, the boy can't fight, can't stop a left hook, can't this and that. And poor Brian Norman was put on all this pressure. Like Brian Norman, the younger fighter, the less experienced fighter, now was supposed to, have betting odds, making him that favorite to win, especially by knockout, against a guy who's been in there with world-class fighters. All right, look, Devin Haney, for what, I don't care what you guys want to say. There's a man I respect very much. He has a saying, skills pay the bills. Is this guy over here, Kaden. He picks the fighters with the skills to win the fight. Devin Haney had the skills. He's always had the skills. Brian Norman never had the skills. Brian Norman's never been in that area to have those skills. He's never had the chance to do it. And that's okay because he's a young up and coming fighter. If anything, this was a bad fight for him to pick. And even people who are honest would make that claim, but then come back and be like, but he's still going to knock it, because all you guys were worried about was what was Devin Haney missing instead of what does Brian Norman have. You guys were thinking that, that Devin Haney's a better fighter, but you're like, well, he's damaged goods after the Ryan Garcia fight. And, I feel like he didn't really win the Lomachenko fight. And, I've seen him get wobbled. So because of that, Brian Norman's going to win. When Brian Norman's never done anything to any of those levels that the guys that you're saying that he would lost to, that you feel like Devin lost to. So, this is just my opening salvo. All right. I had a lot to get out. All right. So we're going to talk more about, in terms of doubting the haters, there's always going to be haters. Eddie Hearn's a natural born hater, right? If there's anybody who was born hating, it's Eddie Hearn. But that's kind of his job as his promoter to whatever, big up his guy. He is not going to put Conor Ben in there if he can afford it, because he knows what's going to happen. Devin's going to box circles around him. And guess what? It's called boxing. It's not called stand in the center and let the other guy hit you. That's Dana White's thing, power slap. You want to stand there and put your hands behind your back and let the other guy hit you? Yeah, there's a whole thing you could watch if you want to watch it. If you want to watch it, guys,
and now he's creating power box.
Oh yeah, right, exactly. That's what. If you want to watch it, go watch Zuffa boxing. If you want to watch world class fighters, watch this. If you don't like his style, say that. But guess what? It's your job to take care of that. That's even Brian Norman said it before. I don't trust the judges. God gave me the power to judge. Great. But you got to go in there and make it happen. And Brian Norman couldn't. And on top of that, I talk about the man with power. He's the one who got dropped. And I said it before the fight. I was like, Brian Norman's been dropped by guys we don't even know about. Yet somehow he's supposed to, we trust that he's going to have a chin against Devin Haney. And I didn't see, I didn't even really see the fight because I only seen clips because I haven't gotten a chance to watch it yet. But I know what happened. Devin boxed him around the ring. Stiff jab, probably smothering him anytime Brian Norman wanted to get any kind of work in. And he probably managed that fight all the way through 12 rounds. Because guess what? Devin Haney's been there before. That's why I said he's basically a ring general compared to Brian Norman. He knows what it's like to be in a 12-round fight. Brian Norman, his face, his whole side of his face was bubbled up. God damn. I was like, yo, you could not tell. You could tell easily who won the fight just off the pictures alone at the end. You know who won the fight. So for all you guys with Haney derangement syndrome, here's your cure. All right. I'm going to give you the cure right now. You want to stop your Haney derangement syndrome, right? Take the hate out, okay? If you don't like Devin, I get it. I don't know if Devin as a person, and maybe I don't know if I'd like him, but one thing I can do is I can look at him objectively and say, I know that this kid can box. I can tell against his opponents who can box. This was easy money from the start. I'm mad at myself for not putting more money on it. I knew it was money, but I'm just like, you also have to, you never know. Unlike my boy Kaden here, I don't just jump out the window with half my money on the bets. You know what I'm saying? So I know we got to look at that later on. Who's got more money right now? And guess what? It's me. But you know,
Because you
this is
stole from me. But go ahead.
This is an easy win for
You're
Devin.
welcome, by the way.
Hey, money is money, and a win is a win. This is an easy win. It was always going to be an easy win. I didn't really think. The only thing is, if you were hoping for a puncher's chance where Brian Norman caught him, and yes, Devin Haney can be chinny, but apart from that, Brian Norman never really showed anything that said that he was going to actually do it. And shout out to Lefty Loaded on Twitter for Ben Media. I posted something underneath. He was like, "Oh, you giving out free money? You should have never made that bet." And I was like, "Don't believe me, just watch." I was like, I came back as soon as I knew the fight was over. I went back to that tweet and was like, "What'd you say again?" So I circled back. So even for you guys, hit me up on Twitter if you want to talk boxing too. You can find me on there. I'm not hard to find.
At Complex Gent.
At Complex Gent. You want to make wagers? You want to say something?
As much
I'm there.
Trash as he's talking right now, just as much nonsense as he's talking right now. Let him keep going.
But I can back it up because we're here. That's why I woke up at 3 a.m. Pacific time so I can get this shit off. All right, so I'm gonna get. So I'm here to get this shit off. So all the Haney haters who's watching, thank you guys for coming back because I hope you guys are here. Right, I'm sure that the first thing you guys want to see is what do we have to say. Let the Haney derangement syndrome, let it get out of your system, right? Look at the guy objectively. Haney's about to probably run roughshod on this 47 division. They put up all the other champions. I was like, this motherfucker might get undisputed again. And that's that. Kaden called it. He's like, yo, this is 47 division this week. And when I saw it, I was like, yeah.
It's weak as hell.
It's kind of weak. I was like, yo, this man might really get undisputed again. So I'm gonna wrap it up there for now. Kaden, what did you think, sir? Because
I'm glad you could admit that. I'm glad
I needed to get all that out because I was waiting for weeks for this. I was like, Kaden can't be serious. I was like, Kaden's trolling. And when you put half your bankroll on it, I was like, oh no, this man is I was like, okay, we'll see what happens. But I was like, yo, this is insane. I was like, the Haney derangement syndrome just blocked this man's objectivity because you cannot believe that Norman was going to win. Did you really believe that? You tell me.
Oh my God. So this is the thing, right? And I'm glad that you are all watching because one, you witnessed live people's issue with Devin Haney fans, one. And two, if you've been paying attention and you're being objective, you'll understand that what's been represented is all dressed up and they're happy. They're happy that they got a little dub, and that's cool. But there's a lot of inaccuracies and misrepresentations, and I just want to break that down. First, when he brings up the betting, I did bet on Brian Norman Jr. I did put half. We started with 100. We're trying to make the most out of 100. I did put $50 on Brian Norman Jr. to win. But I only lost $11 because I picked David Benavidez to stop Anthony Yard. And guess who copied that bet? Complex. That was a Complex bet. He saw my bet and said, oh, I'll do the same thing as you. So in actuality, if he didn't copy my bet and he just bet on Devin Haney to win by decision, I would have won more money than him. Now, his bankroll may have been a little better, like he may have had like $120 to my $89, but I actually won the bigger bet. See, this is how things get misconstrued and misrepresented. I actually had the most impressive pick, but we'll get back to this now. Speaking on this Devin Haney thing, yes, the easy pick would be to say, Devin Haney by decision. But I told you all why I was picking Brian Norman Jr. I needed to see that Devin Haney wasn't damaged goods. It wasn't because I believed that Devin Haney wasn't the better boxer. It wasn't because I didn't believe that Devin Haney's skills were better and that if Devin Haney didn't go through the Ryan Garcia fight, I would have picked Devin Haney to beat Brian Norman Jr. But to me, Devin Haney looked like someone who was scared to engage, as Eddie Hearn pointed out, in his fight against Ramirez. So I'm watching that and I'm thinking, if he gets in the ring with Brian Norman Jr., Brian Norman Jr. is going to hit him, hurt him, and stop him. So my bet's placed on deficiencies that I saw in Devin Haney and that I thought that Brian Norman Jr. would be able to exploit. Now, as Complex stated, he was out having a great time in Vegas, so he didn't really get to see the fight. And that's the thing. The outcome was in Complex's favor. But if you watch that fight, you know Devin dropped Brian Norman Jr. in the second round. He dominated the first half of the fight. And then the second half of the fight, Brian Norman Jr. came on and started bullying him and started taking rounds. And so, to me, it's a tale of two halves for Devin Haney. The first half, Devin Haney looked good. The second half, he looked every bit as timid as I thought he would look. So to me, this is more about what Brian Norman Jr. did, which was in that second round, if you watch the knockdown, he stayed in the pocket too long without, and this is the thing. I want to give Devin Haney his credit. Devin Haney landed a beautiful left hook that hurt Brian Norman Jr. And then when he went to the high guard, it was really, and he split the middle with a perfect shot and he dropped Brian Norman Jr. That's Devin Haney's talent. That's the fighter we've all seen when we were like, oh, he may be actually the best of the up-and-comers. That was the Devin we saw. That was beautiful. But then Brian Norman Jr. got up. He weathered the storm. He started bringing that pressure on Devin, and then Devin started shelling up. He started clinching. It started to turn into a wrestling match. He started to do all the things that we were saying going into the fight. One judge scored it 114-111. Or 114-113, excuse me. So that judge would have had it a draw if it wasn't for the knockdown. 6 rounds apiece. Now, I scored it 115-112. To me personally, I thought Devin won 7 rounds. But Devin could have won all the rounds. And this is my thing with Devin. Devin, to me, isn't looking impressive. Like, his whole persona is Floyd. I'm levels above. If you watch that fight, Devin won, but did he look like he was levels above Brian Norman? Now, he dropped Brian Norman in the second round. But if he doesn't drop Brian Norman in the second round, he's in a world of trouble. Now, if it was a fifth, right? I get it. My thing is, as someone who's watching that fight, evaluating it, I'm not sitting there saying like, man, I think Devin will take out the best. Like, I still think Devin's in trouble if it was Shakur Stevenson in that ring. Devin's in trouble if it was Teofimo Lopez in that ring. Devin's in trouble if it was Richardson Hitchens in that ring. He's in trouble. Against Brian Norman Jr., he outskilled them. What happens with these guys where it's going to be difficult to outskill and outwill? So he looked good in that fight. I take nothing away from him. Also with Eddie Hearn, I don't think that you can watch that fight and automatically give a victory to Conor Benn. I think Devin Haney is climbing his way back into where he was before the demons crept in with Ryan Garcia. So I don't want to judge him too harshly. Excuse me. Somehow, Complex has lumped me in with a group of people who said Devin Haney's not a Hall of Famer. I never said Devin Haney's not a Hall of Famer.
I was about to be like, we won't play the tape.
I conceded that Devin Haney was a Hall of Famer. He's lumped me in with a group of people who, I don't know. Now, I gave you my criticisms on Devin Haney. But last night, I respect what Devin Haney did because although he didn't look great to me, he did have a world of pressure on him. The world was expecting him to get knocked out. There is a lot of criticism that comes every single time he fights. He went out there and answered the bell on 2 fronts. He took punches. He did get hit. He got hit by a hard puncher, and he didn't go down. Brian Norman Jr. went down. And 2, he dropped Brian Norman Jr. Now, I said Devin wouldn't get a knockout, and he didn't get a knockout. I never said he couldn't get a knockdown. A knockdown and a knockout are 2 different things. Now, watch this. Devin Haney fans know that when you bring up the fact that Ryan Garcia dropped him so many times, they'll be like, but he got back up. I'll give you that, right? A knockdown isn't a knockout. Devin can get knockdowns. It's hard for him to get knockouts. So when you have the speed and you have the ability, you can catch someone and knock them down. Devin needs to knock people out. And I'll just finish with this. Then I'll give it back to you, Complex. For me, there is some criticism of Devin that I believe is valid. And there is some criticism of Devin Haney that is excessive. When you're polarizing like Devin, you're going to get fair and unfair. You're in Las Vegas right now. At 4-5, Shedeur Sanders is going to be starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns.
I'm going to be there too.
You going to be there?
Yes, baby.
Oh, my God.
As soon as I saw that, we had to get tickets. We will be there.
That's what's up. So talk about someone who some criticism is valid, some criticism is unfair. Some people root for him. Some people don't want to see him win just because of who he is. That's always going to be the nature of the beast. You got to do you. And so the one thing I like about what Devin said was he silenced his doubters. But what I don't like is that he's even thinking about his doubters in the moment of his victory. All you got to do is just win, just keep winning, focus on yourself. But for me personally, I give him credit for beating Brian Norman Jr. And I don't know if you remember this. I said Devin's taking on a hard fight that I don't think he's going to win. So if he wins, that means I must give him credit for it. I don't know if you remember me saying that. And I said to the people, if you don't think he's going to win, if he wins, that means you got to give him credit for it. So he's won. He's getting the credit for me. We got to wait to see what happens in the future. But I asked, was Devin going to be someone who's still relevant in the pound for pound discussion, or is he going to be viewed as the next Amir Khan? He's still relevant in the pound for pound discussion. So I give that to him, but we'll see what happens. Go ahead, Complex, whatever you got to say.
Yeah, no, I think I applaud you for, taking on and just then, you took the L, but you take it like a champ, you know what I'm saying? So I appreciate that. I still think you're hedging a little bit, trying to be like, well, I said he was going to lose, but it's like, sir, let's pause. But at the end of the day, at the end of the day, I think honestly, Devin does deserve a little bit of a victory lap on the haters this time around because there was so much doubt on him. And honestly, this is why I think even if I was him, I would have felt a little bit disrespected, right? Because you guys are picking this kid who's essentially a nobody, respectfully. And I want to actually give a shout out to Brian Norman Jr. because he stepped up to the plate at a big event, right? And against a guy he was not supposed to beat, but he still stepped up to the plate, him and his dad, and they made this like a real fight. And they made this like, yo, we're taking this to him, right? And they sold us that. And so I applaud them for that. Brian Norman is a young fighter. He's a hungry fighter. He got a world championship belt, right? He didn't really beat a sitting champion for it, fine. And then he even went and defended it. But he was still very, very early on in his career. And in terms of hasn't been able to build up those experiences to face a guy like a Devin Haney. Devin Haney at that age was already in those situations, right? And it's okay. Brian Norman can still get there, right? We don't know what his ceiling is. I think this fight probably was a little early for him, but honestly, I think he did believe he could win, and that's fine. And that's why we play the game, right? You're supposed to get in there and actually see what happens. So, but back to Devin. Everybody was saying the odds even. I checked the odds right before the fight, and they were dead even, like a 50-50. But before the fight, Brian Norman was a heavy favorite. And I was like, really? There's people who really, really believe that Brian Norman Jr. is a better fighter than Devin Haney. And I was like, that's like clearly something's off there. And I mean, you can say whatever you want, but like that to me, off the strength of the resumes alone, you should have seen that Devin Haney should have been the favorite.
It's not that people felt like he's a better fighter than Devin Haney. That's not what I felt. It's that you thought Devin Haney was damaged goods. Like
that, but that's also. Sorry, I think that's the point.
There's a difference,
right?
There is a difference.
But even to assume that he's damaged goods off of a fight where, and let's be real, I know in the fight he looked terrible against Ryan Garcia, but even in that fight,
Ramirez.
And hold on, the Ramirez fight's a separate thing.
Though.
The Jose Ramirez, hold on, the Ramirez fight. Let me break them each down, right? Because those are his last two performances. The Ryan Garcia fight, yes, he got knocked down, but he was still boxing well. And if you take one of those knockdowns away, I think he's like he either draws or even wins on one of the judges' scorecards. It was that close in that fight. It wasn't a complete wash. We just remember the 3 knockdowns, but he was still boxing better, right? Then even with the Ramirez fight, I think, Ramirez, former world champion, by the way, former unified world champion, right? I think in that fight, he probably did take it a little easy, but this is the thing about Devin. He's going to do whatever it takes to get across the line because he knows the same thing with Brian Norman. The way you explain it, at least, because I didn't get to watch it. He did dominate early on, but then he did what he needed to do to get across the line, right? He's going to do whatever is necessary to get across the line. He can box in different ways. So I feel like he should have gotten the benefit of the doubt. Ryan Garcia, for what we understand, popped positive. So for that, off that alone, that fight we should be drawn from our minds. But we focus on it so much because we don't really like Devin, right? And so we are using that as bias, like evidence in our head. When in reality, that should have been completely wiped out of our minds, and we just go right back to whatever else we've seen. And everything else we've seen is that he was gonna outbox this kid. So I think for Devin, and this is why I think Devin wanted to sue Ryan. Because it did irreparable damage to his persona. Look at it's so much so that even as he's going up, where he's clearly better than this other guy, people are still doubting him.
And now for another lawsuit, my God.
I'm just saying, and I get it. Nobody this is boxing. You want to see guys settle in the ring, and thank God that he was able to do that. But I think Devin is not going to honestly silence his doubters and his haters until he fights Ryan Garcia again. And I think that is the fight. And Ryan Garcia, I saw he was tweeting supporting Devin, and he picked Devin and everything. I think I want to see them fight again.
He thinks he's going to beat Mario Barrios, and then they're going to meet again to unify titles.
That's what he thinks. Yeah, and I mean, that's another fight we got to break down. I should pick in this case is maybe I should pick Ryan Garcia, but I have doubts in my mind because of how we looked against Rolly. So it's natural, but at the same time, also I think the way Ryan Garcia carries himself, I don't know how seriously he takes his sport. So that's my other doubt about him as well. But in terms of Haney, I think he's going to take this victory lap because the amount of stuff online was insane. Even I was confused. I was like, this cannot be, whatever. But the amount of hate that people had about him was just crazy. He's going to take this victory lap. Should he be talking about Eddie Hearn in the locker room? Maybe not, but it's like, you know what? No, I'm gonna step on these haters right now because y'all all week were talking real crazy. So the apology has to be as loud as the disrespect. And for Devin, he needs to revel in that. What he should do next is, now that you're champion, you've got the belt, and you're taking these big challenges, keep the ball rolling, right? What the other guys that they say you should be afraid of, whatever, take those guys or unify. If you can get unify against
this is Haney derangement right here.
Lewis Crocker. Whatever. Isn't he the IBF champion?
Wait. Unify is what he's going to do. I'll tell you who he's going to fight next because I think I know who he's going to fight next.
Rolly.
But you said no. You said take the other big guys. You're talking about like Shakur and those guys?
Shakur's not even in the weight class. Shakur's got to fight Teofimo in January.
But I'm telling you, he'd move up to fight Devin
if he wants to. But this is the thing, Devin. This is the other thing. There was all these different narratives about Devin. Devin really lost to Lomachenko. He was a smaller guy. Lomachenko's a natural featherweight. Blah blah blah. So he was a weight bully. But at the same time, he didn't stick around the weight class so that he could fight Shakur and blah blah blah. And all this stuff. Like, bro, at the end of the day, like Devin is fought who he's supposed to fight. People need to chase him now, right? I think
I don't agree with that.
He is the man. What are you talking about? He's the undisputed champion at 135, champion at 140, and at 147. He is the man. He doesn't have to chase anybody.
You couldn't sell out a high school arena.
It doesn't matter if you want.
So here's the thing, you guys. Devin. This is Haney derangement syndrome. This is what I'm talking about. Take your victory lap. He did beat Brian Norman Jr. He didn't outclass Brian Norman Jr. The scorecards will show that he beat Brian Norman Jr. Great. Good for him. You pointed out all the ways in which Brian Norman Jr. was a novice at the level, wasn't ready, and ultimately it was Brian Norman Jr.'s mistake that he made in the second round that Haney capitalized on and was able to use to beat him. But don't gas it. He's not the man. He was the undercard of David Benavidez' fight when he was fighting Anthony Yard because nobody wants to see that. And After the second round, the fight was a hug fest and it was boring. Devin Haney is boring. He's not exciting. He's not the man. He's not the person that people want to see. Like, I'm telling you, when you talk about Shakur, he has to overcome that as well. Shakur isn't
I was going to say
necessarily
Shakur's not that much
he's
better
not
either.
necessarily the most exciting, although he put on 2 fights against Padley and against in his last performance where he looked pretty good and he did some good things. So for that reason, you know, Devin Haney can't call himself the man. Like, he has what you, if you want to say the resume, cool. But
That was going to be my point. He
have
has
the
the
cash
wins
game.
over everybody else.
He doesn't have the ability to sell out arenas. He needs someone
But
else.
if you want respect, so this is the two sides of the sports and entertainment, right? Which they do coincide. The entertainment factor, sure. If you want a big name or whatever, you could beat somebody like Ryan Garcia. But even honestly, Rolly beat him, and I don't think Rolly's that much big of a star. But if you want to prove yourself as a boxing champion, as one of the best of this era, you're gonna have to beat Devin Haney. You're gonna have to beat him. And Ryan Garcia, the reason why everybody amped him up so much is because he got that win over Devin Haney, and everybody's so excited, right? Because that was a huge win in his career, and that would have legitimized him. Now he has to do it again, and he has to do it on weight with both of them weighing the same amount, and he has to do it with nothing in his system. So that's why I want to see the rematch. Let's make that happen, because then let's really see who's the best of this generation. Honestly, like I said, I can see. This is how I think it plays out. Devin, go get the IBF. Ryan, go get the WBC and beat Rolly for the WBA. Y'all fight for undisputed at 147, and y'all can do this rematch, and y'all make a huge fight. The winner of that can go on now and be the biggest name at 147 and be the new Floyd. That person at that point can now say that they're a big star and whatever. But, you know,
So it
that would
sounds
be,
like you're saying you think Devin Haney's going to go after Crocker.
I'll be fair. I don't know Lewis Crocker. I'm just saying. I feel like, and like I said, I pick with my eyes closed. Because I know I will pick Devin Haney over him. I could be eating. This could be a clip right now of me eating crow later on. I would pick him over Lewis Crocker because there's no, these guys at 147 are not have done anything. The 147 pound used to be the glamour division, and it's become totally dead. So I know the champions in there are not doing much of anything, and for that reason is why I pick him. You know, I could be absolutely wrong, but I
agree. I think he's going to go after Crocker.
I could see that. I mean, I think the Rolly fight would be there. I could also see him going there, but I feel like
going to fight Rollies.
Rolly.
I'll tell you what though,
yeah.
Rollies, you disrespecting Rollies. Listen, Rollies had a good fight with Tank, and that fight sold, by the way, on pay-per-view, and he beat Ryan Garcia. Rollies is a bigger star than you think.
I agree. I'm sure but he's a star for the wrong reasons. He's a star because everybody thinks he's goofy, and it's like we love him. That's the fact that he's even in this sport. Like it's like, what silly stuff he's gonna say next.
You know what? You can take whatever you want, but he got some wins under his belt, though. So
I feel like
respect him.
I that's the thing, though. You got to respect him. I thought the Tank fight. I knew that was another one I would have picked with my eyes closed. Tank by knockout, right? There's like if you got convinced by Rolly that he was going to do something, it's like if you didn't watch the training footage with him and his trainer, and then thought he was going to go in and thought he was going to do something against Tank, it's like, come on now. So yeah, I think, but that's how I envision the 147 division playing out. In my mind, to make it like the biggest thing ever. So yeah, look. I'm good now. All right, I've got it out of my system. I appreciate you letting me
take us out. I'll give a shout out to Devin and Bill Haney. You got a victory. You should be happy. You did make a statement, but I think there's still some doubts out there. We need to see that type of performance against someone who's more experienced and more skilled. But I do think what we take away from that fight is that Devin isn't damaged goods, and he's not someone who is going to get hit and then fall out like Amir Khan after he got knocked out. But I'm still not sold that Devin Haney is that guy or that dude. I'm still not sold on that. There's still a lot of people that I would pick to beat him. And I picked Brian Norman to beat him, which was like picking someone, getting their taste of the top level for the first time. I really can't wait to see him in there with some guys who are experienced at the top level, because that's when I'm going to do my victory lap.
All right. Well, Devin, if you're watching, Devin and Bill, that's the best you're going to get out of him. So just take that as what you can. All right.
Hey,
listen, guys.
You can fight Shakur. You can
All
fight
right. Now he's got to go. Okay.
You can. Let me see. At 147 is weak right now.
Yeah. But you know what? Shakur, come up to him, if anything. Listen, guys, thank you for watching. Tell us what you thought. For you guys who made the picks, put them in the comments. Go back. Don't be shy now. Tell us what you were thinking. All these guys talking about Devin were in the comments. We're going to be in the comments there responding. So feel free to reach out to us, guys. Make sure you like the video. Show us some love. Like the video so that we can help spread it, so we can bring more people into the conversation and we can have more of these discussions. So subscribe if you haven't pressed the subscribe button. If you like what you're watching, follow us, on social media, follow us along here on YouTube, and we're going to keep giving you process. We waking up early to give you guys this content, guys. So show us some love. It is Corner to Corner with Kaden and Complex. Hit us up. We out.